and Daffy on Cartoon Network. We'll return with more of the Bugs and Daffy.
Hi everyone. I'm sure you all watched Cartoon Network at some point in your life. I remember sitting in front of your TV for hours because your favorite show came on at a certain time or during a special block. Well, today I'm going to talk about what I believe are Cartoon Network's best animation blocks and why. This is your host, Keddy. Here are my favorite 8.
Now, back to the Dark Knight.
You Are Here aired during Cartoon Network's Friday night primetime, and it was during the Nodes era of Cartoon Network. If you don't remember the Nodes, I'm sure you'll know the money figures that you used to buy at Urban Outfitters during the mid-2000s. They look pretty similar to that. And this one was a golden node with a crown that would pop up from underneath the ground, and then slide across the ground like a Tron bike, which gave it a Tron feel when the block started. This block had some real hidden gems when you think about it, such as Batman the Brave and the Bold, which gave the DC superheroes a golden age spin. It was pretty corny and cheesy, but it was still downright hilarious, and the action was pretty great. It had an overarching storyline during the first season, which culminated in a pretty great finale with Batman getting all the superpowers of the heroes he has met.
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. I've always treated Speedy well. Quick! Retrieve my bow from that crocodile pit!
Wrong with my costume?
It's all wrong.
What I mostly enjoyed about the show, though, was that it had Batman team up with superheroes that weren't on the A-list, like from the main Justice League. More like obscure heroes you've never otherwise heard of, such as B'wana Beast, Plastic Man, Fire and Ice, Black Orchid, Red Tornado, OMAC, the Freedom Fighters, and the Metal Men are some examples.
Too psycho. Stop.
The Secret Saturdays are coming up next. Fire!
The Secret Saturdays seem to be an homage to the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons such as Johnny Quest and the Herculoids. This show followed a family of cryptozoologists whose goal was to preserve and protect all cryptids, unlike their main nemesis, V.V. Argos, who wanted to expose them and make money off of them. The show followed an overarching storyline for 2 seasons and was pretty great, and explored some of the most famous cryptids that we all know, such as Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the Jersey Devil, and the monster of Lake Champlain. Rich in mystery and action, The Secret Saturdays pretty much brought forward what I loved most about cryptozoology, and made me want to believe that creatures like this really do exist. The last show that I talk about that aired on You Are Here is Star Wars The Clone Wars. Now at first, I wasn't really a big fan of Star Wars The Clone Wars show, due to the fact that it was CGI and it just seemed like it wasn't going to be all that great. But oh boy, I was so wrong about that, and thank you Cartoon Network for that. This show was amazing and explored the relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, and why that final scene in episode 3 was so heart-wrenching. What was most interesting about this show was that it gave the clones their own backstories and unique personality. Despite being clones, you can totally tell that they were all different from each other. It also made you wonder how it is that these men can betray their fellow Jedi after fighting together for so long. Another new character that it gave us was Ahsoka Tano. Now before the new movies, it made you wonder what it is that happened to Anakin's young Padawan. Did she die? Did she leave the Jedi Order? I'm sure some of you know now. The show also had a plethora of villains to showcase, such as Cad Bane, Savage Opress, and even the return of Darth Maul. Overall, this show was pretty great and had some really high points during its run.
That may be so, but I defeated you before and I can defeat you again.
You Are Here was a great show block, but its small content and limited runtime is what's placing it here at number 8.
Yes.
Is this the all-you-can-eat buffet? Docs?
Stay strong, everybody.
Bugs Bunny was my favorite Looney Tune character, and I'm sure he was for most of you as well. Well, every year in the summer, from 1993 to 2004, Cartoon Network aired something called June Bug, a 48-hour marathon of all the Bugs Bunny cartoons, ranging from the funniest, to the most controversial, to some of Mel Blanc's great work.
Dave! Ooh!
As a kid, I enjoyed Junebug a lot, mostly because it was a sign that summer had started. As you can guess, Junebug aired in June, and while a novelty at first, it soon began to wear off due to the fact that you could only watch the same Bugs Bunny cartoons over and over and over again. Eventually, it became a chore, and you just wanted a little variety after a time. Most of the time, I didn't like it because it would take the place of the shows that I really wanted to watch during that time. The Bubbers to Junebug were pretty wacky as the cartoons themselves. One of them even had the classic address book, and I'm sure none of you know what I'm talking about, where it would spin through from A to Z, and it had the Looney Tunes characters in between each one, showcasing one for each letter. Another one was trivial information from a narrator who would talk about the cartoon coming up and anything that the animators did differently, even changing Bugs Bunny's catchphrase or introducing new catchphrase or his signature one, "What's up, Doc?" While I love Bugs Bunny, watching 48 hours of the same cartoons every year can become a drag to watch, and it's why it's number 7 on this list. This next one, I'm sure you all will enjoy.
Tonight's Toonheads is entitled Travelogue Cartoons.
Oh boy, Toonheads, what a great show that was. Toonheads collected various shorts of animators like Bob Clampett, Tex Avery, Chuck Jones, and voice actors such as Mel Blanc into a show which gave you trivial information and insight about the production of each cartoon.
Calling all cars, calling all...
Trivia and the inside look wasn't what only got me hooked onto Toonheads. While I did love that, they also highlighted some very obscure cartoons I've never otherwise would have seen before. Some examples for that are Midnight in the Bookstore and Travelogue Cartoons. Now these are some of my favorites when I saw Toonheads. Some of my other favorite episodes include Hollywood, which were parodies and characters of celebrities from the 1930s and 40s, Fight Night, cartoons that highlighted boxing and wrestling like Rabbit Punch, and One Toon Wonders, cartoons about characters who only starred in one cartoon and then just seemed to disappear from the silver screen. Toonheads is just one of those show blogs where you stop what you're doing and just sit down and enjoy. And it's why it's number 6 on this list. Up next, we have something that I'm sure most of you look forward to on your Saturday nights. Now, if you're a loser kid like me and didn't have much friends or go out that much, then every Saturday night you sat on the couch and waited for Cartoon Theater to start. As a kid, this is what I look forward to most. Watching Cartoon Theater gave me a cinematic epic vibe, and if I ever missed it, I felt really guilty about it and just wouldn't feel the same when it would rerun again on Sunday morning. I think the first movie Cartoon Theater aired was Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and it felt like it was such a big event that I didn't want to miss it. And man, that was such a great movie as well. It's probably one of my favorite Scooby-Doo movies also. Some of my other favorite movies that aired on Cartoon Theater were Batman Mask of the Phantasm, the American Tail movies, Balto, and it even branched out and brought in Hayao Miyazaki movies as well. The
Cartoon Theater presents an American...
were also pretty great, as they were parodies of the famous studios, such as the MGM Lion, Columbia Pictures, and the Paramount Mountain. What was pretty cool about Cartoon Theater was that they would air movies aligned with each season, such as Halloween movies during Halloween, Christmas movies around Christmas time, and the summer blockbusters during summertime, of course. On the couch, in front of the TV, was the place to be on a Saturday night for Cartoon Theater, and it's why it's number 5 on this list. Up next, we have a trip down nostalgia lane. Cartoons. I'm sure when many of you think Cartoon Network, this is what pops up in your head. Cartoons introduced many of us to some of my favorite shows ever, and pretty much defined an era for Cartoon Network, such as Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd and Eddy, the Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, and Courage the Cowardly Dog. Running from 1997 through 2002, Cartoon aired cartoons produced by either Hanna-Barbera or Cartoon Network Studios, and by that time it was headed by Fred Seibert. The programming boomed in popularity and had 5 spin-offs, but I'm just going to focus on the first 2, such as Cartoons and Fridays. I'm sure many of you will recognize Cartoons by the Jazz Swing jingle, and all of that led up to what is called Fridays. Fridays was such a big deal because it would air the top 5 cartoons of that time and also premiere new episodes of each cartoon. I remember sitting down and watching Fridays with my cousins and always waiting for the next new episode of each show to start.
Seeing the intro to Friday start always made me realize that the long week was over and the weekend was finally here. And I could just sit down and relax and watch some good old cartoons. The Friday block had two different intros, with the first one just being an extended version of the Jazz Swing theme song that you see from the Cartoon block. And also had the Fridays logo rolling around all over the place and interacting with all these different cartoons. The second intro, which is my favorite, had the cartoons interacting with each other in the city, and it kind of had an office setting that showed how the characters got ready for the show to start. Just hearing the Cartoon theme song play, as well as the Fridays theme play, brings back happy memories for me. It reminds me of the good times I had watching all these old classic cartoons, which is why it's the number 4 spot here. Up next, we have another cartoon block that was pretty much a weird transition for Cartoon Network. This next cartoon block comes during a weird transition for Cartoon Network, with Toonami moving to Saturday nights only, and Cartoon Network wanting to have a more friendly and family vibe. They introduced Miguzi, which is more kids-oriented and had less graphical violence than Toonami did with their shows. Just how Cartoon Network was going through a weird transition, so was I myself during my puberty days, with Miguzi debuting on April 19th of 2004. While still an action-oriented block, the shows they had were more kid-friendly and had less violence than its predecessor. Just because the shows were less violent didn't mean the quality and content dropped. Miguzi still had some great shows even with its rotating schedule. It had a couple of mainstays, such as Code Lyoko, a show about a group of kids who discover an evil supercomputer and how they battle it in the virtual world, all while at the same time trying to discover this one girl's mysterious past. Another good show that they had were Totally Spies. While more geared toward girls, it still had some pretty great funny action. The gadgets they used were pretty much James Bond worthy, and it also had a few notable episodes that stood out for me. Miguzi became even more of a mainstay when it aired shows that premiered on other networks such as Static Shock, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003 edition, and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. These shows helped Miguzi become a worthy successor to its predecessor, Toonami, and also helped me cope with the boredom I had when I had to stay and wait for my parents to get home at my aunt's house. Just like its predecessor Toonami, Miguzi also had its own host with this 12-year-old CGI girl named Erin, who started the blog by being transported to an alien ship underwater, where she would join an array of other sea creatures and aliens and would sit down and watch the shows. In between commercial breaks, I would also show Erin taking a break while either grabbing a snack or taking a bathroom break, and it had some pretty cool bumpers and also some pretty great fan work as well. Miguzi had its final air date on June 1st of 2007 and pretty much defined an end of an era for Cartoon Network. With action cartoons starting to be phased out, Miguzi stuck with me during my high school years, and I pretty much have fond memories of all the cartoons it had and had some good times with it, which is why it's the number 3 spot for me here. At the number 2 spot, we have something that hurts and hit pretty close to home when it got cancelled, and that is DC Nation. What could have been the start of something beautiful and phenomenal crashed and burned and left nothing but horrible scars and tears. Many, many tears. DC Nation had 2 shows in its block, and those 2 shows were phenomenal, and that is Young Justice and Green Lantern the Animated Series. Unfortunately for DC Nation, Cartoon Network aired the block during a time when nobody was awake to watch it. The first 2 of the DC Nation shows, Young Justice, was a breath of fresh air, and it focused on the teen psychics of the main superheroes such as Robin, Aqualad, Kid Flash, Superboy, Miss Martian, and it had them dealing with lust, love, hormones, and betrayal. With intricate storytelling and great character development, it was hard to see why Cartoon Network didn't want to air DC Nation at a later time to give it a more popular view. Another show for DC Nation was Green Lantern the Animated Series. Now this show is what the movie should have been, with great storytelling, great character development, and great voice acting by Josh Keaton, who plays Hal Jordan in this show. Green Lantern set the groundwork for some future amazing storylines to tell. For example, Sinestro was still a Green Lantern, and we all knew he would eventually become the Yellow Lantern that we all know. Another one was for new character Razor, who was gonna become a Blue Lantern, given the hint at the series finale. I was looking forward to all these storylines to further develop, and hopefully for the series to be complete. But alas, Green Lantern the Animated Series was cancelled, along with the DC Nation block. But these 2 cartoons isn't what made DC Nation special. What really made it special was the shorts in between the commercial breaks that it aired. Some of my favorite shorts include the Super Best Friends, which starred Supergirl, Batgirl, and Wonder Girl, and it showed all the hijinks they got into. As well as Batman of Shanghai, which had great stylized art and showed different origins for the heroes and villains we know.
A couple of other my favorites were the Mad Max Wonder Woman and the Black Lightning shorts. The animation in these shorts were beautiful and really stylized, and I was hoping that one of these series would get picked up. But alas, none of them got picked up, and the only one that did get picked up was, unfortunately, Teen Titans Go. I may be a bit biased for having DC Nation here in the number 2 spot, seeing as I'm a big DC fan, but also hoping for what it could still be, seeing as how DC is bringing back its cartoons Young Justice and another show called Titans during a streaming service, and hopefully it could bring back DC Nation shorts as well. I think we can all guess what I have the number 1 spot. It's the one block that got cancelled and we fought for to bring it back, and now airs on Saturday nights. And that one, at number 1, we have Toonami. Now, I don't even know where to begin with this one. Toonami is the one block that I grew up with and defined an era for me and my life. It introduced me, and I'm sure others as well, to the world of anime. Now, back then, I didn't know what anime was, and I don't know how much of an impact it would have on me later on in life. All I knew was that I loved it so much and tuned in every day after school to watch Toonami. Toonami first premiered on March 17, 1997, and it was very much different than what most of us remember now, with Moltar being the first host of Toonami and starting the show blog from the Ghost Planet Industries building. I'm sure most of us also forgot about the cute little UFO logo that they had as well. But all of that changed on July 10th of 1999, and that's when Toonami introduced its current host, Tom. He became a favorite among Toonami fans, and he was first voiced by Sonny Strait. With a white and blue color scheme, a cool design, and a sleek look, only Tom could pull off the robot beer belly. Unfortunately, this version of Tom died in an event called The Intruder, and then came Tom 2, who was now voiced by Stephen Blum and even get a co-host in Sarah. Sarah was the ship's AI, and she was voiced by Sally Timms, and her and Tom will go through several upgrades as Toonami continued on over the years. What really made Toonami special and pop out was the glorious content that it had, with such great shows as Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, Tenchi Muyo, Gundam, G Gundam, and Sailor Moon. Toonami brought anime up front and made it popular. At the peak of its popularity, Toonami had 2 spin-offs, with the Midnight Run airing from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. with more graphical violence in its shows, and also the Rising Sun edition, which aired early mornings on Saturday and Sunday. Toonami even branched out and did reviews for games like Guitar Hero, Alien Hominin, the Budokai series, FIFA, and Burnout, which was pretty cool, and it was something you don't see on kids' channel blogs these days as well. But it was more than just an action cartoon blog for me. Toonami also offered life lessons, moral guidance, and even gave advice to its viewers. While mostly just generic stuff, it left an impressionable mark on me as a child. If you're ever in the need of a solid pick-me-up or need to be motivated, you should go back and listen to the life speech that they do, or even the dream speech. One of my favorites is the hero speech that they have, and it really makes you believe in yourself. As corny as it sounds, that's why they have Toonami as number 1. Toonami went above and beyond for its viewers, even though it never really had to, and it really left a mark on me as a child, which is why it's my favorite one, and I believe it's the number 1 show blog Cartoon Network has ever had, and it's still continuing to this day. Well, and there we have it, folks. That's what I believe are Cartoon Network's best animated blogs. If I missed anything, or you believe there are better ones, let me know in the comments. Until next time, thanks for listening to Ketty. Stay gold.
No, we'll be right there with you.
Wake up! Be all that you can be!
Only Toonami.